Hey guys, what is up? Happy Monday. Sorry I missed this Friday. My life has kind of been insane lately. All in good ways, but insane nonetheless, and it's just been hard to stay on schedule. To be honest with you guys, I am still like in the process of recovering from creative burnout, and it's just been really hard. Like some days I'm having a hard time like struggling to sit down and like focus and get my tasks done. I'm actively working on myself trying to recover from this creative burnout. And one of the biggest new updates, which I'm so excited to share with you guys, is I recently purchased this book. It is called The Untethered Soul: The Journey Beyond Yourself. And gonna do a little bit of like self help, like inner reflection, inward reflection, that kind of stuff. And I just want to see if it has a good effect on my business because I've kind of been struggling with balance a lot lately. It's just been hard, and I want to be real with you guys. That's what this whole entire podcast is all about. So I've just been kind of struggling with balance, and it's been tough to balance work life and personal life and making sure that you have enough time for rest and recovery. I feel like there's so much pressure weighing down on us, especially this modern day and age. And this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit in this episode today, is just kind of the pressures that we face on a daily basis, being on social media, being present, being open to all of this information from all over the world, and how that can kind of affect us and our mental state a little bit. So lately, I've just been struggling because there's so many aspects of your life when you want to start focusing on putting yourself first. And I feel like my exit from industry was kind of like, in industry, you don't really have time to work on yourself. You work 9 to 5, you're so burned out. Usually they're working you like a dog, and I would come home from work so exhausted, so like just burnt out because you're working, working, working. And it's easy to experience burnout in industry because I feel like there's not a lot of emphasis put on kind of boundaries and things like that. So I was leaving industry after being burned out for probably 4 years straight. And as I came off of that entire journey and I went into my entrepreneurship journey and I wanted to start my business for myself and I really wanted to like focus on myself. It was the first time I could since I graduated college. You're working all these jobs, you're just trying to pay off your debt. Life is crazy. You're doing all the overtime that you can so you could get your student debt paid off. And it's really easy to fall into creative burnout or just burnout in general. It doesn't even have to be the creative industry. It doesn't matter where you are. It's very easy to get burned out, especially like straight out of school when you have a lot of debt to pay off, or you're trying to start a family, you're trying to buy a house. Very easy the way that the system is set up right now to get into this burnout mentality. So I was leaving industry and I was so burnt out that when I started my business, I was so excited about the fact that I could finally put myself first and I could start doing things that like help my own body and help my own mind. All of my emphasis went on that stuff. So I was very on point with like working out. I had this great schedule set up for myself. The same day I was pretty much staying on task, staying on schedule. I was doing really good, but it was for all things that were just my own personal growth. Like I couldn't spend a ton of time on business stuff because I was so excited to focus on myself and like start a new diet and start working out and start waking up at the same time every day and like really focus on my schedule, my physical health, my mental health. I was doing all of the things that I never had time to do when I was in industry. Because like I was saying, you work the 9 to 5 and then you come home and you have to cook dinner and you have to take care of cats or animals or children or whatever it is that you have to take care of. There's dishes to be done. There's trash to be taken out. I feel like we have so many chores on a daily basis that we come home from the 9 to 5 after being worked like dogs, and then you have all these chores waiting for you when you get home. It's just so exhausting, and it's such an easy recipe for burnout. So I started my own business. I was like, oh my God, now I finally have time to do all of these things that I've been waiting so long to do. And I start working out. I started a new diet because you don't have time for a new diet when you're up and hauling and trying to get your butt to work and it's an hour commute. So I start doing all these things, but it was like all of my focus was pivoted to these things, and my business side I kind of started to lose sight of. So I started slacking. I wasn't really focusing on anything. I wasn't really like pushing hard for new work. I just kind of let it go. Didn't touch my branding, didn't do my website. Now I'm on the opposite side of recovering from industry burnout and putting myself first and prioritizing my health. I feel good about my health and I'm prioritizing myself, feel good in that regard and that aspect of my life. But now I feel like shit about my business. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a terrible business owner. I'm gonna fail and it's gonna be all your fault. And you're gonna have to look all the haters in the face and say, you were right and I did fail. And I start doing all this awful stuff to myself in my head. And that was the opposite end of the spectrum. And I was just miserable. Now I was fit. I had lost like 20 pounds. I was feeling good about myself. I was like so happy. And this was about a year ago. This was like last May. So happy. I was like all in a good headspace. I was feeling good. I was like wearing outfits that made me like happy and things like that. But then I felt like my business was absolutely falling apart. So I did what Jen normally does and decided to just dump all the gas on the other side and slam the brakes on the side I was working on instead of trying to find a balance. And I just burnt out with like working out and prioritizing my own mental health. And then I dumped everything back into my business. So it's like I'm either on one end or the other, like all the way or not at all. So stopped like working out. I fell off my workout schedule. I was like, I have to eat, sleep, breathe business. You know what I mean? This is going to fail. It's going to be all your fault. And I started to get scared because my numbers this year were tracking to be about the same as last year, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. But I had this idea that it was like I was going to double and triple and quadruple every year. But that doesn't always happen. So my numbers started to track really close to what they were tracking last year. And it's really important to document this stuff because I would not have known that there was a problem if I didn't have those numbers to fall back on. So it's very important to kind of be cognizant and document pretty much every bit that you can because that kind of information is so, so valuable to your business journey. So I started to see this and I was like, oh my God. And dumped everything back into my business. I was like, you can't take weekends off. You can't take time off. Every single waking second of every day, you have to be doing your business. And then I was just awful to myself. So I did that. And I guess you guys realize how that ended up. It was creative burnout now. It wasn't industry burnout. It was my own personal, like, creative burnout. So burned myself out in my business. And then it was just hard. I stopped, like, I didn't want to film the podcast anymore. I didn't want to post reels anymore. Like for anybody that's following my Instagram, I was like doing so good with posting reels. I was like regular with it. I was getting like 4 or 5 up a month, like a year ago. And I was super proud of it. And that just fell off too. I was like, I don't have the passion for this anymore. I didn't want to do reels. Well, first of all, I hate doing content in general. It's literally like my least favorite part of the entire process and it drains me, but I was doing it and it just got to the point where I didn't even want to look at it anymore. So I knew that that wasn't good. And at that point, I revisited everything as a whole. I took a step back from my personal life. I took a step back from my business life. Just took a step back from everything and started to understand what is it that I really want in life? How do I get there? These kind of things are really important to start looking at. And just doing a lot of like deep thinking and reflecting and things like that kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of the way that I was feeling kind of was stemming from social media indirectly. And I don't want to hate on social media. I think that it's an amazing tool for all of us to connect. I mean, I have some friends, I do those co-working calls with Vicky from Design Some More, and I found this amazing creative community that I love so much. And I honestly I don't understand how I lived before without them. It was one of those things that I found that connection. To anybody that's interested, I highly recommend joining Vicky's newsletter and getting in on those calls because they're great. But it was one of those things like from day one, I never, once I experienced it, I never knew how I lived without it. And they are so life-changing and, they bring such amazing ideas to the table. So I love social media for that. But the other side of social media, the bad side of social media, is you're seeing all of this like progress and change but not like the hard parts. And it'll be like somebody could work on something for 3 years and maybe they don't even post it for the entire time that they're working on it. And then they just post this amazing, incredible, shiny, enticing result. Whether it's the perfect dream body from years of working out and strict diet, or it's the perfect brand, or it's the perfect whatever it is. And they post this final result, but you don't see the agonizing process that went into getting that result. You don't see the hours and hours of stress and anxiety and not wanting to do it, but having to show up anyway. And I feel like it's really shifted everything, like to the point where I would always see like Instagram, it constantly pops up these girls and they're fit and they're like perfect and they're everything that you want to be, and then they start offering these solutions where it's like, just drink this cortisol drink, or this is what you're missing, it's this cortisol drink, your cortisol levels are out of whack. And I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I see it all over TikTok anymore, and it's like, this drink will change your life, it'll fix all of the problems that are wrong with you. And I started to look at those kinds of social media tactics because I have to understand social media. I have to understand the advertising tactic. I have to understand the market that they're reaching out to. I have to understand the method that they're using because I'm trying to learn how to do social media for myself. So I started to pay more attention to this kind of stuff. And it's like, I feel like so often I'm seeing these things where they convince you that there's something wrong with you, and then they tell you that there's a magic pill or a magic drink or a magic supplement or a magic whatever to get your perfect dream result overnight. And that's just not the reality of it. And I was having a full-blown conversation with myself about this in the kitchen when I was making myself coffee this morning, because there I was standing in my kitchen and I was like, man, my business is doing great because I just dumped all that time into my business. I was like, man, the business is great. Things are turning. I'm getting leads. The job tickets are going up. Revenue is up. Like, everything's great. Feel great in that regard. And I'm miserable with myself. I'm miserable with my body. I'm miserable with my mental state. I feel like I'm not paying enough time to that side of me right now. And it's been hard. I'm so like down on myself. But the thing is, I started to do these like affirmations where I'm reminding myself that life is a journey, not a race. And the more that I did that, the less terrible I started to feel. And my entire perspective changed when I have been seeing all of these like perfect girls, skinny girls, lose all this bloat, this, that, the other thing, magic drink, magic fix, whatever they're trying to sell you. And I saw this one girl, and she shared a post, and she was 27 in the first like reel that she posted, and that's my age. And then she was 30 in the next one, and she was like chunkier. She was definitely heavier set in the 27-year-old reel. And it was like just a little reminder that it's never too late to start, or you're never like too late to change, or something motivational. But it was like she was heavier set in the 27-year-old photo, and she looked incredible in the 30-year-old one. Like, so incredible. She looked so healthy. She was glowing. She was much thinner. She was much more fit, not even just losing weight. You could just tell that her body was like toned and trained, and she was feeding herself good stuff, and she was working out. And it's like that reminder that it's never too late, because I feel like on social media lately, it's like, you're missing out. It's too late. Don't miss the last sale. Don't miss the last deal. Stop waiting around. Stop waiting around. Get this magic drink that's going to fix everything that's wrong with you. And it's just not the case. And I see this sometimes in the art community too, where it's like, if you're feeling miserable about your business, and if you just can't seem to book clients, and if you just can't seem to land jobs, and if you just can't seem to close sales, get this magic template and it'll change everything. Get this magic client portal and it'll make your life better. I've done that. And the thing that I've learned over and over is it's made for their success, not yours. And while it might be a great stepping stone to get you started, to give you an idea of how to do something the right way, it's a great roadmap, but it's not a solution. It's not a magic pill. It's not going to make you lose 200 pounds overnight. It's not going to make your skin glow the next day. It's not those things. And I just wanted to make an episode about it because I feel really passionate about this right now. I want to raise more awareness that no matter where you are in your journey, it's okay. You're doing amazing. You're going at your own pace. As long as you're showing up every single day and you're giving it your all, even if your all is answering one email, you're still doing more than most people. And I think that that is the most important thing, because there were days for me where I just had a monstrous to-do list. I was so stressed. I was so overwhelmed. And I was like, if I can just answer 2 emails today, that's still a bonus. That's still pushing the business forward. And when I started to look at it more that way, things started to feel better. They started to not feel as scary. And now, even though I'm not fully back into my physical and mental journey like I want to be, I'm starting to take small steps. I just got myself my first ever yoga mat that I'm really excited about. And I'm doing some ab workouts again for the first time since like 2020, like 5 years. And, I look back on everything, and there were certain parts of my journey where I was really good with working out and feeling good about my physical state and eating healthy and all those things. There were sometimes I was grinding on business and I was working double shifts for overtime pay because I wanted to get my loans paid off. No matter where you are in your journey, you're still working hard for a future that's going to be amazing, and it's going to be worth every little bit of the struggle. So I just wanted to raise more awareness, to be a little bit more open and mindful to that kind of stuff, because I feel like it's so loud on social media. And it really is a pet peeve of mine that there's so many like accounts out there that just kind of spew this like, you're running your business wrong, and if everything's broken, I have the magic fix for you. No, just educate people, just what did you learn? Like, what was one thing that if you could go back and tell yourself when you first started, that you would tell yourself? What's that kind of stuff look like? Because I feel like that does more good than any template ever will. And to me, honestly, if I could leave a piece of advice, if I could go back and tell my past self when I was starting out on this journey, one piece of advice is to be patient with yourself. You're not going to be perfect every single day. There are going to be some days where you just totally fall off the wagon, and that's okay. You can't push yourself too hard every day, because that will lead to burnout. And recovering from burnout is way worse than anything that is on your to-do list, like, no matter how bad it seems. It is so difficult to recover from burnout. There's so much self-work that has to be done, and that's why I'm taking steps. Even in my small little Jen way, I'm trying to read more. I'm trying to spend less time on social media and more time hitting books. I'm trying to kind of distance myself, and lately, I started to let myself have weekends off. There was so long that I was just pushing, and I was like, you can't take weekends off. Weekends have to be work on the business. Like, I have to work on client work from 9 to 5, and then my 5 to 9 is going to be pushing the business forward, because I've always worked like that. And I didn't want to work like that anymore. I wanted more time to be creative. I wanted more time to get back to my inner child. I wanted more time to explore and wonder and be curious again, because that's the kind of stuff that not only prevents creative burnout, but totally ignites your creativity in ways you would have never thought possible. So that's just my little spiel for today. I am in a faceful episode today. It's kind of been a little bit crazy with the podcast. I have some new guest bookings on the way up, kind of coming up, which is exciting. I'm trying to get some clients on. I have a couple clients that I almost have convinced to be on the podcast, and I really want to bring them on so you guys can kind of see the dynamic that I have with my clients, and you can hear from a client's perspective, what the process was like. And I really want to do this to kind of bring some awareness to people out there that maybe they're looking for a designer and they don't know how that process kind of looks, and they're on the fence, but they're not quite ready to take the leap of faith yet. I really want to bring awareness, and there's no better way to do that than straight from a client's mouth. So trying to get some clients on. I have a very exciting guest actually booked for August 8th, I think. They are from Australia and pretty popular on social media, so I'm very excited to have them on. They should be a real treat. And yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. Just to catch you guys up on life a little bit, I splurged and I was a little bit hard on myself, and that's kind of where this whole episode inspiration stems from, is I was beating myself up over splurging on a couple purchases, and I don't treat myself ever. Like, it's probably once or twice a year. I splurged on some stuff. I finally got the Dell dual monitor arm. You guys probably saw that install with the reel. I also treated myself to some Galaxy Galaxy earbuds. I have them in right now. They're very cool. That's my first ever noise canceling headset. So that's like super exciting. I've never had a noise canceling headset before, and it's definitely a new experience. I love it. It has been life changing for my business. It has helped me focus so much more than like what I'm normally used to. I've never really had that. I used to wear the big over the ear ones because it was kind of noise canceling because they had the big like ear cuffs. But a real noise canceling headset is like an absolute game changer. And I have been waiting to buy these for, oh my God, like 7 months. Whenever I made that reel that it was like the 5 things I'm working really hard for in 2025, this was on the list. And I saw it was like Prime Day deals. They always get you with that. But I saw that it was on sale and I couldn't resist. Also, the Dell dual monitor arms were on sale, and I have been absolutely loving it. Like, my desk just feels better. And that's also kind of the inspiration of this episode is I was down in the dumps. You know, I was so burnt out. I was so miserable. And I never treat myself because you need that money for the business. You need that money to pay taxes. You need that money to pay bills. You know, you can't be treating yourself. But the thing is, sometimes if you spend that little bit of money treating yourself, you will work so much better, happier, cleaner, more efficient. It's just like feeding yourself healthy food when you're trying to build muscle or work out. When your workspace is clean and dusted and organized and the way that you want it, it is going to be such a wild success for you. And sometimes it is so worth it. Those purchases could actually pay themselves back and then some if you just treat yourself. So I did a little bit of treating myself, got that monitor arm. I love it so much. My desk just feels different and it's like the best feeling ever. For any designer that's on the fence right now about reorganizing your desk, I know you're out there. Just do it. Just do it. Just take an hour or two, clean the whole thing off and just put it back together. And you're going to feel so much better. It's going to feel, I feel like there's so much stuff like that in the creative industry too, that kind of helps prevent burnout a little bit, is like, or organizing your desk, or like reorganizing your desk, or hanging a couple posters on the wall. Or I know Brands by Robin is a guilty one for this, is like repainting the walls. It helps. It really, really does. That little stuff really helps. So treat yourself, do something nice for yourself, play a video game. I started to play Minecraft, and that has been amazing. I literally played with my friend from college last night. It was the best experience ever. Really helped set my day off on the right foot. I didn't film a podcast on Friday because I felt like shit, just mentally, not even physically, just mentally felt like shit, didn't feel like doing anything. I played Minecraft with my friend this weekend because I took the weekend off, and I was energized and ready to do the podcast today if you start to implement some of this stuff. And it's really changed a lot for me. Taking the time to read more than be on social media. Stop comparing yourself to people. You're on your own journey and you're right where you're meant to be. Just keep trying your hardest each and every day, and the rest will fall into place. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. I got you guys caught up on the fun little purchases that I made. I also treated myself to a ridiculous backpack that's coming in the mail today, and I'm so excited about it. As far as business stuff, this week, the end of this week, beginning of next week, Stankin' Good Design is doing its first ever commercial vehicle wrap, which is very exciting. So I will be posting updates on that. And I hope it goes well. I'm literally so anxious because I had to order the prints from a local print shop. And anytime that I have to get anyone else involved in a project, I get so stressed and anxious and sweaty. Because when I first started my business, I had somebody, they were helping me with a project. And it was one of those, like, I was able to do the strategy, but I couldn't do the actual illustration. So I did the strategy for the project, wrapped it up. I recommended this person to my client that they could do the illustration, and they like totally dropped the ball. I was not anticipating it, but they were like not answering my clients' emails, not following up, not making deadlines. Like, it was probably as bad as it could have been. And it got to the point where we just had to cut our losses with that and find a different illustrator. And I did. I recommended a different illustrator that I've known even longer, which I should have just recommended straight away. And he absolutely blew it out of the water. Oh my God, it was amazing. It was exactly what I hoped it would be and more. But regardless, that entire situation kind of had me like stressed and paranoid about ever involving another party when it comes to business. But I'm just hoping everything goes well. I hope the prints are okay. I hope the color's okay. I hope it's sized appropriately because it has been a hot minute since I had to create a custom vehicle template to scale and make sure that everything fit. And I really hope I still have it. So I will keep you guys updated on how that goes and if it's a catastrophe or if everything goes smooth. I'm really hoping for the latter. That is regarding business, and I have a meeting today at noon with somebody that I met at my local networking event. And then tomorrow, I have a meeting with another business owner that I met at the local networking event. So this is just going to remind you guys, even if you're socially anxious like I am, force yourself. Like, this is the one thing I will say, make yourself uncomfortable over. Go to your local networking events. There is nothing like getting to meet somebody face to face. Social media comes close with the reels and being able to kind of show your face, show your process, and find people online. Nothing will compare to meeting somebody in person. It is so important. The relationship that you can build with them straight away is like unrivaled to anything I've ever pulled from social. So I have a couple cool meetings this week, couple cool things going on. I'm working on a brand package in the background, having that creative co-working probably on Thursday. Anybody that's interested, go join Vicky's newsletter. She puts it out every week. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for letting me ramble a little bit in this one. I just kind of have been enjoying doing these unscripted and with the current thoughts that are circulating in my brain, because I feel like that's the most real stuff. So sorry if this sounded like a rambling mess, but thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one.